Was someone asleep at the switch, or were many people asleep at the switch? The surgery occurred, and they said that it was a simple hernia repair. And that was really not expected to be a big deal. So as I was trying to recover from this, I was even wondering, oh, this is a bigger deal than, I thought. I've had many other abdominal surgeries, and some of them have been more difficult than others to recover from, but this was getting to be really difficult.
When something to this magnitude happens, it really throws your life upside down. There's no part of your day, no second of your day that really is not impacted.
You just can't stop thinking about all the potential scenarios. I knew things weren't good. Once I talked to Chris and realized she was on a ventilator, and I knew the magnitude of that, it was a tough trip.
I imagine how awful it must have been for my sons to come in and see their mother in that condition.
Seeing my mom in that vulnerable position in the intensive care unit was really tough. It kind of will make you grow up fast. You never want to be in that position.
It took over our lives completely, especially mine.
When you're in the situation that I found myself in, the feeling of vulnerability is immense.
At that point, we've been through 2 months of hell. She's waking up. For me, it's like I can start to get some normalcy back in my life, but for her, it was just the beginning.
For Dorothea, who was coming out of the drug-induced coma and awake much more, and starting to get a sense of it's 2 months later and what is going on, that she'd lost 2 months of her life, she started to get extremely anxious.
It was like being a nightmare that you wake up and you realize that you're not dreaming. This is the real deal. I wanted to be a model patient, and I wanted to be a model patient because I had been a nurse, and I knew that if I was identified as a pain, that would travel. A caretaker has to establish a relationship, and they have to establish it quickly. And that's hard, that's very challenging, but you've got to connect with that patient from the very beginning. And I really didn't want them to know that I was cognitively unable to use that call button. On the flip side, with some of the work that I've been doing, I have found out that they are changing out all the call buttons in MICU and CCU and making them more accessible to patients in my situation. That means everything to me.
I remember sitting there making a sign that says, "Please help me," asking my mom if she could hold this up if she needs help, and the nurse kind of looking at us, being shocked that I would be doing something like this. And I was like, why can't you understand? Of course she's scared. She can't talk. She's got no way to move, no way to do anything. If she needs help, she needs help. There's no call button around. It was kind of a disaster.
It is unacceptable for an individual, as a few people did, to say, I don't lip read, and turn around and walk away. I was just completely negated when that happened. I would take the inflection of a nurse's or a caretaker's voice and see that as something positive or something negative. There was a respiratory therapist who would reassure me. He used this sort of, I'm going to be in 3 hours. And if you're still having a hard time in 3 hours, I will bump the oxygen back up. But let's just see if we can do it. And I felt like he was partnering with me. And he was back in 3 hours, because I would usually wake up, but sometimes I wouldn't. I was so comfortable. This guy was coming in throughout the night and was really partnering with me to, like, he was happy. He seemed genuinely happy when that ventilator thing could go down.
It's an emotional roller coaster through the whole process, because initially it's just fear of what's going to happen and how we get from day to day.
I only thought in blocks of 3 to 6 hours. I never let myself go beyond that because it was overwhelming. One person can be the world, particularly when you're measuring your life in minutes and hours.
You know, for a long time was kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, but you just really have to kind of focus on the positive.
Families want information. They don't necessarily want to hear good news. They want to hear what's happening, what's real, what's likely to occur, what can I expect, what's the prognosis. Those are the questions that families want answers to, and they're tough questions.
When you're in a situation like that, you don't want a false sense of hope. You want the truth.
It's not that you always need good news from somebody to feel like they're supporting you, but we just felt like maybe some were spending more time with us than others.
In my case, the hospital has helped me in my recovery by allowing me to have the privilege, really, of giving input about the positives and the negatives, and feel that by that input it will be better for patients that are in my situation. If I gave percentages, I would probably give the hospital a 96, which is really high, because I can be a critical person. Now, the 4% that was not good was really not good. And those are the things that have to change.
Doing all this volunteer work for the hospital as a result of what happened to her has been wonderfully therapeutic for her. She feels that she's giving back.
In a way, things happen for a reason. And if the reason for me was that I was going to be able to improve healthcare for people in this region, then there's a significance in that, and I want to do that.